you can't have the joy without the misery first. So
That's
my
so
favourite
Scottish, Calvinistic.
Yes, yeah.
Hello and welcome to Joy Agenda, the podcast all about joy with me, Jay Lafferty.
And me, Hannah Campbell. We are recording this today at Monkey Wild Studios, and we have a very exciting guest today. We're very lucky to have comedian, tour guide, history buff, and dog parent. It's Daniel Downie.
Hello. Hello, ladies.
Thanks for coming on the show, Daniel.
And Brahan.
And Bran.
And Brahan.
So if
Hey,
you're not
Bran.
watching on
Thank you,
YouTube, we suggest you get on YouTube and you can maybe see Bran. Bran is Daniel's dog. What kind of...
Is he a Labradoodle?
Golden Doodle.
He's a golden
retriever
doodle.
with a poodle. Golden or a poo retriever.
A poo retriever.
That's a great name.
That'd be a better name
He
for
just
him,
brings the poos back.
Yeah.
Yay. He's absolutely stunning.
He's very aware of his charms, Gia, I can assure
Is
you.
he? Yeah,
He's
he's a big
very aware of how
flirt.
charming
He's
he
looking like
is.
he's wanting to climb up and be a guest. He's trying to get as close to that microphone as humanly possible.
He would make a
so-
good stand-up comedian because he needs constant attention. Like, he's like, do you know what I mean? He definitely fits the bill,
Yeah.
like his father. But
But how are you, Daniel?
very well, thank you. Yeah, lovely to see the both of you.
Lovely. Have you just come from doing a tour?
Yes, I'm in my. You can probably see me in my kilt. My dog Brahan and I, we do comedy walking tours of Edinburgh. I keep looking at that. It's weird. I should just speak to you. So,
Yeah,
yeah, sorry.
if you want to do it
It's
in
like,
camera the whole time. But
Do you know what? Right, I always think like. Wait, I remember. I was in the Isle of Lewis, right? Believe it or not, this was when I was teaching. I used to be a teacher, and I played for a football team up there, right? And the BBC Alapa were doing, because obviously it's a big Gaelic speaking community in Lewis. They were doing like a weight loss show with our manager, right? And so we were in the clubhouse after a game, right? And so the people that were filming for BBC Alapa, they're like, right. So Daniel, what I want you to do is just have a conversation with Doogie, just to like ask him how his like weight loss is going and all that. And like, this is why I could never be an actor, because honestly, it was the most awkward thing. So I was going like, so Doogie, tell us how the weight loss is going, and
constantly
I
looking
heard
at
you're
the
off
camera.
the pies. And they had to get somebody else to do it, Jay. I was like,
You were
I
that
was
bad.
so
You blew your
unnatural.
opportunity.
I'm terrible. And then there was one time I wrote a short film once, right? And then remember Matthew Ellis, Jelly Bean Martinez,
Yes.
I was amazed at how good he was at acting. Do you know? And like after writing that short film, it made me appreciate how amazing actors really are. Because I gave myself a very, very small part in my own film, right? I played a barman. But like, I feel like the only way I could ever be an actor is if I was doing pantomime and had to overact.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Because I was playing the role of the barman, and I was like, same sort of thing with the camera. I was going, so you want a vodka and coke? Is it? Like,
it's very hard to be like naturalistic.
So
like
hard.
you think it looks easy, and then
Yeah.
you try and do it yourself, and you're like, oh no, this is.
Oh
really
my
difficult.
God, aye. Honestly,
I love that we've already lost Bran's
Bran,
attention.
yeah.
He's
Bran's
just
like-
like,
we were
"Oh,
worried he
I've had
might
enough."
start barking, but he'll go through and he'll probably just chill. He'll be tired.
fine.
He's done a lot of walking today.
I know,
Nice group.
and you are feeling so. For if you are only listening, you're not watching, especially to any of our listeners in the Americas,
Yes.
because they're very
Oh,
like
look at you two showing
yeah.
off
Yeah.
our American
our
listeners.
American listenership. So hey, Auntie Jean. Auntie Jean, you need to get yourself on the YouTube because Daniel's got the full kilt on.
Yeah.
He's sitting there,
Yeah.
and he does look a wee bit like the guy on the side of the Porridge box.
A wee bit.
That's a huge compliment, Jay.
Well,
I
you
think that's
do.
the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
That's because
That
I'm normally
guy's
such a
like,
cow.
yeah. He's mega hot, the Porridge guy. Oh, there he is.
No,
Look,
Bran's
shouting.
like,
Bran, it's not about
No,
you
come
look
on.
like the Porridge guy as well, Bran. It's all
Oh,
right.
it's come back.
Come on then, handsome boy. You need to make a decision what you're doing, or you know.
I know, yeah,
I think
no.
your tour. Are you number one on Tripadvisor in Edinburgh for?
I
comedy
was.
tours?
I was.
You were. Oh, sorry to bring it
Oh,
up.
No,
you
I might still be. I was a few years ago. I was in Tripadvisors top 10 things to do in the UK. So
In
I
the
was
UK?
in the UK. Yeah, I was one of only two Scottish experiences. It was me in the Chocolatarium in Edinburgh.
Oh, yeah.
You heard of that?
Yeah,
Aye,
yeah.
It's supposed to be really good.
I've never been, but I've seen it. I've walked
Aye,
past it. It's always
yeah.
got a big queue.
God, I've
Yeah.
never
So we
seen it.
were the only two Scottish ones.
Castle
on.
didn't even get a look in. Fuck
Well,
the castle.
no. The castle was. So this was like experiences.
Oh, okay.
And not like locations. So
Right.
like Stonehenge and Edinburgh Castle and all that was on
Right,
there.
okay.
But it's funny, because we're on a podcast talking about joy, I stopped a while ago looking at reviews,
Right.
because I felt like it was just, my whole life was looking at and like ranking and, oh, you know, the Harry Potter people have overtaken me and they're number one now. And so now I just like, because like TripAdvisor were so bad, like one woman left me a 1-star review because she didn't turn up. And this was during the Edinburgh Fringe. And so she didn't turn up for her tour. And then I got back to her. So during the Fringe, I do my walking tour in the morning, my stand-up show in the afternoon. So I replied to her at like 5 o'clock being like, that's fine. That's fine. Sorry you missed your tour. You can use your booking on another date, whatever. This like 1-star review about how I was gaslighting her and all this sort of shit. And like, and it generally, honestly, it does get to you.
Gaslighting her because you didn't
Honestly,
like reply
Jay, fuck
straight
knows.
away.
Honestly, God knows. But TripAdvisor never take any review off. There was another 1-star review I got, right? I went to the doctor's in the morning, had a rash. The doctor told me I had shingles, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't do the tour because you're contagious. Phoned up the guy who was on the tour that afternoon, saying, listen, I've got shingles. I'm not going to be able to do the tour this afternoon. He left a review with like caps, all caps, entitled crap. What a disgusting way to treat people. This is a disgrace. And I said to TripAdvisor, I was I had an illness. And they were like, no, that's within our community guidelines. So I left like a wee thing under that. I says, look, I'm no longer checking reviews. So I don't know. I could have like 1,000 1-star reviews. I don't know. My dad still checks it.
That's such
he'll
a
tell
dad
me,
move.
yeah, he'll be like, you're back up to number 1. You're at number 2. But I think, you know, it's interesting talking about it on a podcast about joy. I just stopped, Hannah. I stopped.
Yeah,
it wasn't good for my.
Yeah,
and I did the same at the Fringe because remember I came up and I says, "Well done, your 4.5-star review," and then you went, "You as well," and I went, "What?"
Because you.
She was like, "You know, you got a 4.5-star review for your show, Daniel," and I was like, "This is the first time."
That's right, because you didn't know.
Also, can I just say, I am not a fan of the 1/2-star.
Aye.
The 1/2-star annoys me. That is a 5-star. Just lead with your chest, man. 5-star review.
100%,
Like, for
Jay, I
goodness
know.
sake, this 1/2-star. Like,
Aye.
honestly, reviewers, buck up. Right, I'm raging about this. It's either a 4 or it's a 5 or it's a 3 or it's a 2. It's a 1. A 1/2-star is nonsense.
Totally agree.
So we both got 5-star reviews then. That's
Yes,
great.
thank you,
Absolutely.
Jay. We appreciate it because we're
5-star.
rounding up, obviously.
When would you ever
Never
round down? Even HMRC rounds up, right? So let's just do the rounding up, okay?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I know, like, I think it's quite interesting, that whole, like, the reviews thing, and particularly when you're doing something like you're doing with walking tours, because 9 times out of 10, if you've had a really good time, you don't go on and you don't leave a review.
Exactly.
If you're annoyed about something, then that's when you're like, oh, what is my comeback? Or I'll write a review. And that's why, like, so like we're obviously just all getting ready for the Fringe at the moment. And I never option into the audience reviews on
Yeah.
the Fringe.
Yeah.
And lots of venues will, like, I think venues are pretty split. Some like encourage you to do it and other ones go, don't do it. Because the only people who ever go on to audience reviews are either your pals who you've gonna go and geese a 5-star on the old audience reviews, or people who are just there to be dicks.
They just love to complain, and that's why the TripAdvisor especially. There's some absolute psychos that go and just their hobby is to go on. And
to be
just leave
fair, I
bad
do
reviews.
think that it's different for what I do because I think people understand that my livelihood is built on reviews.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's different from a Fringe show where
Totally.
a review might come in.
Yeah.
You might have a reviewer in.
Yeah.
When you're doing what I do for a living, like if I don't get reviews, I'm not making a living. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I always say at the end of my tour, like that's how I make my living is through nice reviews. But like I will, it's just TripAdvisor because they're so unreasonable, like with those examples. But the other platforms, because you sell on different platforms, you know. And I've got a love-hate relationship with all of them because they take huge commissions. Like TripAdvisor take like 30%, Get Your Guide 30%, Airbnb 20%. But at least like on Airbnb, I had a ridiculous one on Airbnb. A woman from Chicago came on the tour and said of my tour, she said, I did nothing to combat structural racism and didn't mention Ukraine or Palestine at any time during the tour. And I was like, it's a comedy walking tour of Edinburgh. I didn't realise I was addressing the UN.
It's not fucking question time.
So like, but the good thing about Airbnb is they were like, yeah, that's clearly fucking mental. We'll take that down. TripAdvisor would have left that up though. So I don't. This is a
I
very
always
long-winded
think-
way of me saying I don't check them. But.
Yeah.
But I always think that so I was just recently booking a holiday, and obviously you always go on to TripAdvisor and things like that. And I was looking, and you'd be suspicious if there was no bad reviews, because there's
Exactly,
people like the people you're talking about who that's their life. They just love to do stuff like that. So I always find then if you go on to the 1 and 2 star reviews and you read them and you go, oh no, this person was clearly mad.
Yeah.
This person's mad. There's nothing wrong with this hotel, because this person, all they could find to complain about was something mad. It's like the one that's about Arthur's Seat, and they're like, walked
no
all the way
coffee
to the
shop at
top
the
and there's no
top.
coffee shop.
I mean, that
And you're
is
like,
just.
it's an extinct volcano, you mentalist.
But do you know the funny thing is on that, Jay, is sometimes a 1-star review is beneficial for exactly the point that you're making, right?
Yeah.
So if I get a 4-star review in the tour, I'm raging. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, because it's not the same at the like a 5-star at the Fringe and a 5-star of someone giving you a review at the Fringe. You know what I mean? That's different things. So anyway, like 99% of the time they're 5-star reviews. And every so often someone will give you a 4-star review, and I'm raging about it, because I'm like that's a 5. You've given me 4, but it reads like a 5-star.
Yeah.
But I can't leave a comment on a 4-star review, because technically that's a good review.
Yeah.
Whereas if you leave me a 1-star review,
You've got
all
a right
bets
to
are off.
reply.
Yeah,
All bets are off. So I had loads. There was this woman, Karen from Kansas, left
Is
me
it often
a,
Americans that leave the crazy ones?
well, they
Plain to type. Plain to stereotypes.
Karen from Kansas left me an absolute belter of a review, 1-star review. And so I've had loads of people who came on the tour and said, we were looking at your tour and we weren't sure whether we were going to book or not. And then we read your reply to the 1-star review and we were like, we're definitely booking on this guy's tour. That's fucking hilarious. You know what I mean? So, in the end, I was like, actually, Karen, help me out.
Yeah.
Because I was able to write a really funny reply on it.
Yeah.
So,
What
Google
was
me.
Karen's
I can't
complaint?
even
Okay, you
mind.
not
She was
remember.
She was like, I know this says it's an adult tour and there's bad language, but we were just too many Trump jokes, basically, I think.
Right.
She was
I think
like a
that's essentially
Republican.
it, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
I think that was probably it, yeah, but...
Oh my God.
I love that. I love reading the response to bad reviews as well. The Stan Comedy Club, who have a few belters where they've got where somebody's moans about we get chucked out for doing nothing.
Everyone always gets shut out for doing nothing, don't
Yeah.
they?
And then when you read the reply, they're like, well, according to the police report.
Oh, do you see the Peter Kay woman?
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
She was on the news and everything, and I'd be like, just fucking shut up, Hen. What, you're making it 1,000 times worse.
Because they called her Lisa Riley, and I feel dead sorry for Lisa Riley.
I know, she's the victim in this.
Lisa Riley's like, I wasn't even there.
I know.
I was used as an insult. I actually think Lisa Riley's got a bonny face.
Yeah.
What?
I know, that's why as well I don't like, it's the same as sort of social media comments and stuff like that. We actually, you might not have seen it, on one of our reels that we put up, somebody, I think it was the one with Dave Hill, so it must have been an American, it was about me, somebody just commented and went, her voice.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
So I just hid it. And
I haven't seen it.
No,
so
because I hid it.
because
Because I was like, no, I'm not going to. You think it's still up there, but it's actually not, and no one
It's
can see
genuinely
it.
really bad, though.
So if you're watching, fuck you.
Yeah, 100%. I had one on TikTok that did quite well recently, got about 60,000, so I was quite happy with it. But I made a joke about Donald Trump. Oh, Jesus Christ, man. The flood of shit I got from the Trump people. But the good thing about TikTok I really like is so easy to block.
Yeah.
And I found myself, when I first started in comedy and putting reels and all that sort of stuff out, I would engage with people and I would try and do funny responses. And now I just didn't bother. I think for the mental health, block,
just
block,
block them.
Yeah.
And I always find it's quite nice, because if you obviously I follow a lot of comics, and so if I see somebody writing something nasty on another comics thing, I just do a preemptive block. I'm like, you don't follow me, you might never follow me, but you know what? I don't want you.
Yeah.
Block.
You're not going to have the option.
Quite right.
Yeah.
So,
And then I often think, it's quite funny if they saw me on something, then she's blocked me.
Why can't I view this
I
person's
wonder
thing?
why. I've never heard of her before, but she's and I'm like, that might get into their psyche, and they're
just be like,
they're
we
like,
know what you're
well,
up
it's
to.
actually because you said something really mean about somebody else that I like. So, I've just never understood. We've spoken about this on the podcast before, but I just don't understand the mindset of people who go on social media to be negative. I just think, there's so much more you could be doing in your
If
day.
you think it's shite, keep it to yourself.
Just keep scrolling.
There's the entire internet for you to look at. You don't have to leave a comment or whatever.
It is bizarre. But anyway, that's what you've been doing. You've been traipsing around Edinburgh.
Well, I have been on holiday actually, and if the cameras, I'm not normally this brown. But back to Mexico. 3 weeks in Mexico.
That's it. Well, tell you what, we're going to ask you the question because I feel like this will be one of your things that brings you joy. So, Daniel, tell us what brings you joy.
Well, he's lying there. Brahan, obviously, the Bonnie Prince brings me a lot of joy. And I was on holiday in Mexico. It was amazing. First, proper holiday I've had in 10 years, really, actually, since before I set up my business. But it's funny because Jay and Hannah, when they do the podcast, they send you a wee thing just saying what brings you joy. And it kind of got me thinking about joy. And I think maybe this is a very guy in his late 30s answer, Scottish guy in his late 30s, is the thing. I think joy comes from graft. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I feel like you can't have joy unless if you have joy without the work, it's just gratification. Do you know what I mean?
So you have to earn the joy.
That's how I feel.
Okay.
So I really enjoyed this holiday to Mexico. But I enjoyed it because, basically it was my girlfriend and I, we both recently finished master's degrees. So I finished my master's degree I graduated in November and Johanna graduated in January. So we decided to do this big holiday to celebrate, you know. And because I felt like I had earned the holiday, I couldn't go and I feel like when you were a kid, you're there was this recognition, certainly my family and most kind of working class, middle class families, your family's worked up to this thing the whole year. And that's where the joy comes from. You know, when you're on holiday and you're in the water park, you're on the beach, you understand as a kid, don't you, that this is a special thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
And so I think, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, at the Edinburgh Fringe, I don't know, maybe you feel differently from me. My least favourite part of the Fringe is those last 2 weeks because you're kind of bored of your show. Those last 2 weeks is almost like you're just pressing play on yourself and it's quite rote. Do you know what I mean? And I think the joy comes from all the struggle that goes in beforehand and that thrill in that first week where you find it coming together. Because everyone goes into the Fringe. Doesn't matter how many previews we do. We're never really sure that this thing's actually going to work. And I think the point I'm getting to here is you can't have the joy without the misery first. So
that's
my
so
favourite
Scottish, Calvinistic.
Yes, I crave misery in my life. I refuse to enjoy something until I've suffered first. That's a very important.
That is so That's the most Scottish thing I've ever heard.
It's true though, right? I mean, is that?
But did you manage to relax Mexico? Because I know your lovely girlfriend. Actually, we now hang out independently from you because we got on so well. And she was saying that you're not good at relaxing on holiday, and you're
really.
always you just finished your masters, and then she's he's already thinking about is he going to do his PhD? Did you manage to relax?
I think I did all right. I think I did well. I did a good job of living in the moment when I was there. But yeah, it was really special. But it's funny, the masters thing and all that as well. I think that when you achieve something big in your life, so I graduated back in November and had this wonderful weekend when Johanna came over from Stockholm. My girlfriend's from Stockholm. She came over and my mum and dad were there and my auntie and uncle were there for my graduation, went out for a meal, and then my brother surprised me at night time. I didn't think he was going to be there. And then the next day everyone went home and I didn't expect to feel so low. Do you know what I mean? I was
the come down from the high.
It's not even, I don't know if it's the come down from the high. It's more this big thing that's been a big part of your life is suddenly gone. And that was really straight. I wasn't expecting that, It was really, really kind of weird. I think maybe the same as if you've got a Fringe show that you're really proud of. I think the Fringe show I've written that I was most proud of was my Mary Queen of Scots show. It was called There's Something About Mary. And then the Fringe ended and I didn't tour it or anything like that. And I was I kind of mourned that as well. I was I put so much work into this thing and now it's just I'm making this podcast so miserable. I'm so sorry.
It's a really interesting idea that
do you not think?
You need to.
Do you ever feel that way, like about after your shows and stuff? Or
I think so. I would say I still enjoy the whole Fringe, but I think there are also something quite nice about once you've got your show down to a tight, you know that it's going to be fine. But I know what you mean. It's that exciting first 2 weeks when you're still working stuff out and you're
thrill. The biggest thrill in comedy is because when you do your weekend set, you know 90% of the time, 99% of the time, it's going to go well because you've done it so many times. Of course, you're going to have bad gigs. The real thrill, in comedy comes when you try a joke for the first time, you don't know whether it works or not. And then that moment when you think, oh, this could be a bit. And then when that bit becomes like a weekend bit, that's why I find that thrilling.
Yeah, you've worked on something to get it to a point.
That's why I have the most respect for stand-up comics who are constantly writing. And like those comics I go and watch at the weekends and I think I know their weekend set. And then suddenly, oh my God, I only seen him 3 months ago. But she's got a new bit now, you know, and she didn't do that bit last time. And now she's doing this bit. And I'm like, and during COVID as well, like the people I really respected were the ones that they just kept being creative. They kept going. You know, a lot of people went to Twitch and all that. And I don't know much about that world, but I was so impressed with the people who just kept creating and keep doing. Yeah, I think that was really impressive. But I guess the point I was trying to make there, I think that the journey to joy, and the thing about like, you never really know that something's really joyful, really great until you have a wee bit of distance from it. And I think the same thing is true when you're having a bad time. You don't realise, like, you're like, oh yeah, that was... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You never realise when you're in a peak and you never realise when you're in a trough.
Until you look back and you're like, oh, that was great, or fuck, that was terrible. Yeah.
Because even like a few weeks ago, like when I was in Mexico, it just like being in Mexico felt like the most natural thing in the world. I'm like, oh, this is what I do in my life. And then like now I'm here and I'm like, that was fucking amazing.
And now you're wanting about in the
But
rain.
I'm like, if, like when I was actually there, I was like, was I going, this is fucking
Yeah. You have to like look back.
I think it's hard to be in the moment, isn't it? Totally. Like, and I think I'm a bit like yourself from Joanna's description, is that I find it really difficult to stop and to be, I don't know, thankful for where I am. And, you know, like I'm constantly in the fear of, all right, this is going to stop, this is going to finish, this is going to end. So I need to make sure I'm doing this, this and this.
It's a self-employed thing, isn't it?
It is a self-employed thing, but not all comics have that. But I think it's just that also I do enjoy what I do. And the thing that I love the most is the reaction from audiences. And so as long as you're on the stage and you're performing, I feel like the joy comes back instantaneously. Like it's that thing of like the joy of the entertainment. That's why I don't think I really struggled with the move that comedy has done onto social media, because it's so not instantaneous. It's so like removed from the joy that I actually get from stand-up. And I'm always very impressed by people who really embrace the social media aspect of it, and they get joy from it. They're not just doing it because you've got to do it now. Like we had Ali Woods on a few weeks ago, and you can tell that he just really loves doing those sketches, and he pulls people in that he likes to work with, and it's a really joyful process. And I think I get that joy from the automatic reaction from the audience.
Yeah.
And I also think that, I also believe that it's removed the joy from some comics, because I've gigged with quite a few comics who have come off, they come backstage at the stand, whatever, and maybe I'm hosting and I'm like, oh man, you absolutely smashed that. And he's like, I can't believe I didn't clip it. And I can't believe I didn't have my phone there. And you're
thinking
like,
about what they can put online.
Come on, man. Like you had a great gig. It was a great moment. You know what you're saying? Like you're not understanding this moment that you've had, you know?
Yeah.
So I totally agree.
And I never think that really transfers. Like there's I think it's different for us because we know what it is to be in the room when something is going really well. And even when you see something, like I've been in rooms where comics have done something and it has been filmed and it was amazing and fabulous, and then you see it like 2 or 3 weeks later online and you're like, oh, that just it's not the same. Like it was so funny and so perfect and so beautiful in that space because everybody was in on the joke, you know, particularly when it is crowd work type stuff. And it's because everybody knew that Alan's, you know, there for his wife's whatever, you know, and then the joke really worked in the space. And then when it goes online, it doesn't have that immediacy. And I think And yeah, that kills my joy. But we're not on
We're
to
not
that
on
yet.
the joy colours. But yeah, it does. It's so like when you go to like concerts and stuff, and everyone's got their phones up.
Aye.
It's like just
Drives me nuts.
I really try to not pull my phone out if I'm at a concert, because I'm just like, enjoy the moment. Like, you're seeing this person live. Don't look at it through your phone, and also you're never going to watch this back again.
And also, why do you think that your footage
I
is
know, shitty, grainy with some guy's head bobbing in and out. Like, it's going to be the clip.
And
That's
also,
gonna
do you
be
ever
it.
watch your clip back and then you're singing through the whole thing and you've completely fucking ruined it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can't even hear the band,
And you're
the
like,
artist.
I really thought I was in tune in the moment. That you listen
How
back and you
many
go, no.
Hannah Taylor Swift clips have you got? If we were to get your phone out right now, there could be a folder of about 150 videos.
I actually don't. I obviously went to see Taylor Swift. I actually don't have that many. I maybe have. I think I honestly took like 4 or 5 the whole concert, because everybody films it. So I'm like, if I want to go and watch back that specific Edinburgh set, it's already online from everybody else, and I was like, I do just want to enjoy it. So I was quite good at Taylor Swift. But there's definitely some of me screaming out of, out the top of my lungs, not in tune. But we'll never see that.
That's what I'm going to start doing when you're on stage, at the Monkey Barrel. I'm just going to be recording and then like saying your jokes along with you.
just doing the punchlines.
Yeah.
Putting them online and being like, yeah. I think that's a sketch for sure.
That absolutely is. Yeah.
That actually sounds hilarious.
Yeah, it's like do your best.
Even better if it's going badly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To the silence and this wee voice the punchline comes from the back.
And then me just going, why is no laughing? But that never happens because Hannah always smashes.
Obviously,
yeah,
smashes
all
it.
the time.
4.5 stars.
Yeah, 4.5 stars. Round up to 5, baby. So
So are you doing the Fringe this year?
I am doing the Fringe. I'm doing a show about Scottish identity. I talked to you a wee bit about it backstage,
That's
didn't
right.
I?
We had to be with Roger
your
Thomas and
Scottish
Stearns.
identity.
Not mine specifically. It's more like, what is it to be Scottish? Because you're from the west of Scotland, you're from Edinburgh, I'm from the Highlands.
I'm actually from Peebles, but it's okay.
The
borders.
The same thing, right? Borders.
Do not say practically English, otherwise.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, we'll all have very different interpretations of what Scottishness is, and so my dissertation I wrote was a little bit about that as well. So it's kind of like a continuation of that. So yeah, it's remarkably not ready. But if you want to come see me, I'm doing a work in progress at the Glasgow Comedy Festival on, I don't even know the date. But
Tickets have gone that well. He's just like, I don't even care.
If you want Dan to reply, leave him a 1-star review of the show. And
no, please don't. But yeah, no, I am doing the Fringe this year.
Because you're obviously like, you really lean into like your Scottish identity, and obviously you've done the master's degree. Like, why sort of, did you grow up in a very Scottish household?
No, not at all. Like, basically, when I was at school, I loved history, and I loved it. And I went to Dingle Academy, early 2000s, and at no point in my time at school were we taught any Scottish history at all. I mean, none. Not one bit.
Wow.
And I remember, so I got an A at my higher, and I did advanced higher. I wanted to do advanced higher. And so hires are like the qualifications we have in Scotland, the equivalent of like, where are they in England? O levels.
GCSEs, kind of things.
no levels.
O levels,
A-levels,
and whatever it is in
A-levels,
America. So anyway, they're like your last exams that you do in school. So I wanted to do an advanced higher. And in advanced higher, you did like a wee mini dissertation on a topic that you chose. So I said to my history teacher, I was like, I don't care what I do. I just want to do something Scottish. Like, it can be Mary, it can be Wars of Independence, it can be Jacobites, I don't care. And I was told, this would be 2004, Dingle Academy, 17 years old. I was told that they didn't have the resources and I had to study the American Civil War.
What?
And it always stuck with me, that. And it made a big chip on my shoulder, and maybe probably showing my politics here a wee bit, but I was like, well, how many other countries in the world are denied access to their own history? And it kind of lit a fire in me, and I just became obsessed. So I was like, it was almost like a fuck you. Again, very Scottish. I got joy from the anger. And I was like, no, I'm going to learn everything. I'm going to learn and like, we're one of the oldest kingdoms in the world. We're one of the oldest countries on the planet. And we have so much history. And once you start pulling on that thread, I can't stop. I just love it. And so, yeah, I kind of found a niche for myself. But I think one of the reasons I do Scottish historical comedy is because my life is so boring that I have nothing to write about. I have nothing to write about. I look at like Ray Bradshaw and I'm like, oh, you're so lucky with your deaf parents, Ray. You're so lucky. Like someone's had a horrible breakup, or like, I'm like, you're so fucking lucky. Look at you,
You're so
joking,
lucky with your deaf parents is the best.
Like, yeah, how dare you, Ray?
Ray, I really feel that you should use that on a Fringe poster. Lucky with his deaf parents, Daniel Downie.
My very first Fringe show I wrote, it was called The Flamingo Diaries, and it was about a trip. It was like I'd spent 4 months traveling in South America, and that's the only interesting thing I've done in my life. So I was like, right, my life is incredibly boring. I am a very brown bread Scottish white male. I goes, well, what I'll do is I'll just use other people's lives for comedy.
Yeah.
Whose life is more interesting or incredible than Mary Queen of Scots? Like you couldn't write that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like, I think when you delve into the history, that it's so that there's murder,
there's so much
there's
to it,
intrigue, there's incest, there's a lot of sleeping with your brother-in-law who was also your cousin. There's all of that.
I mean, that's why that guy based Game of Thrones on a lot of Scottish history, because there was so much going on.
Yeah, exactly. So like if I know I don't have much drama in my own life, I look for it elsewhere. But I also like when I started comedy, I was still teaching. And I think that when you're a teacher and you're a stand-up, you have this thing where you really want to separate the two worlds.
Yeah.
So I kept my stand-up comedy very unpersonal. I really, really didn't. And since I've been out of teaching for 6 years now, and I found now that I'm starting to write more personal bits. You're probably both familiar. I've got a bit I do at the end of my set about teaching like sex education and stuff like that. Yeah. And so now with a wee bit of distance, I'm finding myself writing more comedy bits on like my time as a teacher and my childhood and stuff like that. But before I was just very removed.
Historical stuff, yeah. That's so interesting. So is Mary Queen of Scots, she's your favourite?
Probably.
She's your
my
main
old
gal.
obsession. You've seen my tattoo of Mary, haven't you?
Yeah.
You have a tattoo of Mary Queen of Scots.
Do you want me to show it to the
Show
camera?
it to the why not?
Wow, where is it?
It's in my arm.
The housewife's favourite, Daniel Downie.
This was a lassie in. She's a lassie from California.
Oh,
and she lives in Edinburgh now. And
The tattooist, Mary Queen of Scots, not a lassie from California.
She did it for me, yeah. Amazing.
That's
in
great.
Semper Tattoo, the one in the grass market.
Yes.
What a talent, eh?
It is,
That's great.
Incredible.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. I was like, when I finished the master's degree, I got her it's weird, right? It's fucking
No, but it's such a big part of your life. That was my one acting role in high school. I was in primary school. I was Mary Queen of Scots.
I thought you were going to say you were a tattoo artist.
I went around tattooed. No, I was Mary Queen of Scots.
I think you'd be a good Mary. I can
Thank
see
you.
that.
I was the second half, so I got executed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my.
Listen, the play was the second half of her life.
Like, so we had two.
You had two Marys.
Two Marys, because we were like 9.
Okay.
So we weren't to be trusted.
Equity as well,
Yeah.
So they've got,
Exactly.
can't have children working hours.
And I had to be old Mary because I got told that you are much bigger and older looking than the other girl, and I'm sure that's not had any lasting psychological damage to me.
Definitely
not. So I got to be executed at the end. So yeah, that was
fun though.
yeah, it was
So
quite good.
Bran brings you joy.
Yeah.
Oh, Bran. Well,
has
you know
to be.
what? It's funny. Like Bran, more than bringing me joy, he was because during COVID and stuff, I had just gone self-employed just before COVID, and in Britain you needed to have 3 years of like tax returns to receive furlough, and I had only left teaching like 6 months previous, so I was completely fucked. And there was days where like my phone was just going bzz, 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 and it was just cancel. And I was in a really dark place, and genuinely like having him was huge. And then obviously I was engaged, and I had the breakup of my engagement as well. And so just like honestly, more than just joy, like he provided during COVID, like having him meant that you couldn't lie in bed till 11 o'clock. You know what I mean? You had to be up and you had to be
look
out.
after him.
And so yeah, he's and I don't know, because I know that parents hate this, Jay, when people compare having a dog to having a child. So I'm
please go
preempting
But
this.
go on, carry
on, say
on.
it.
But
Anyway.
do you ever do this thing, like, because I always think with Bran, like, even when I'm pissed off at him, because, you know, there's times he doesn't do what he's told, there's still a part of me just going, this is fucking funny, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm never actually mad at him. Like, even when he's not doing as he's told, I'm like, yeah, but it's actually quite funny. And I was like, is that like the same with parents, or is
No,
it just
we're actually
general
mad at
pissed
the
off?
children. We're actually raging. We're actually
thought
like,
that'd be
you're
the
going to
case.
do my tiny mind. No, I
like-
know what
do
you
you know,
mean. Though, like, I think maybe when, because my wee one's wee, so I never really ever been properly mad with them ever. So I think like sometimes I look at my friends who've got teenagers and I'm going, oh, I'm not looking forward to that. That's and I was a horrible teenager. Like, I was the most hideous, horrible teenager that you can ever imagine, and I always feel like this is coming back to me tenfold. Like, I know this is going to be horrendous, so I'm just really enjoying these next like 5 to 7 years of nice, joyful experiences.
See, one of my,
and then there'll be the dark years of like the 7 dark years.
I thought, because again, when you sent me the wee thing about what brings you joy, I thought I'd share one moment with Bran, which brought me a lot of joy, right? So when Bran was a puppy, it must only been about like a year and a half or something like that. He was young. And Edinburgh's has got this brilliant thing where you guys don't know, obviously live in the city, the old railway lines that are paved over and are now public footways. And they're amazing. So you can basically walk anywhere in the city without having to be by the side of the road and deal with traffic and all that. So Bram is a puppy, and obviously he has to learn to walk alongside joggers and cyclists, and so this is still the time when he was learning this. And there was this one time when he was a puppy, there was this guy who was running past, he had a Celtic top on, and Bran was running alongside him, and the guy kicked him. He kicked him. And I was like, what? So I ran up, this guy's like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, you got to control that Doug, what the fuck? And I was like so angry. I was brimming with rage. And then that day, Ross County, I'm from Dingwall, the tiny wee team from Dingwall put Celtic out of the cup. And I was like, fucking yes.
It was that guy.
Yes.
He did it.
And I was just, again, the most Scottish person you're going to have in this podcast. I got joy from drinking in that guy's misery. I just kept thinking about him that afternoon, how raging he would be that little old Ross County put him out of the cup. And so sometimes, like, if I'm ever in a bad mood, I'll just think about that guy.
That is brilliant.
Fuck him.
Absolutely fuck him.
Totally. I can never, again, it's like people who write on like social media, people who are cruel to animals just blow my mind. I'm just like, I just don't get it. It's psychopathic.
It's insane, isn't it?
It's madness. So that probably brings us on quite well, actually, to the next bit of the podcast. Jay's Joy Killers. So
It's got to be you that does this, Jay. It's like the Glaswegian one has to be the one that does this. You need the kind of the bitterness of definitely the West Coast comes out in you here. You couldn't pull this off, Hannah.
No,
Anna's too nice. She's got
far
borders.
too
Like
nice.
she's shortbread. And
Listen,
We need the venom.
rolling hills of the Shire, all that sort of stuff. So.
What, Daniel, kills your joy?
Right, I've got a specific type of Instagram reel which is doing my nutting right now.
Okay.
And it is the people. Well, there's 3 types of Instagram reels that I can't stand, right? The first one is the people who are like, they're an American living in London. They'd be like, oh my God, so y'all, like, they don't refrigerate their eggs in this country? And I'm like,
But we can't afford them.
Is this content?
Exactly.
And then, like, or the other one that I really hate as well is like, there's like a lassie from America marries a laddie from the north of England, and is like, so I'm in a pub in England, and this is no word of a lie, we're eating like bangers and mash. And I'm like, fuck off. Like, there's no such thing as culture shock anymore. Everyone knows this stuff.
Yeah.
And I get so angry about it. I'm like, this is not content. The thing that I think about it is like, they probably, the couple one, like, you know, like the Italian husband one and all that.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah, I've
the
seen the
original
Italian husband
reel.
one.
Yeah.
The original reel was probably like a well-meaning, like, this is funny, does this? And they're like, oh, that got 20,000 views. And now their whole content It's just that.
Yeah.
It's complete bollocks. I really what I'm really angry at is that I always watch these reels. Right? I'm not angry at it. It's myself I'm angry at. Do you know what I mean? But I do genuinely try on like Instagram and TikTok and stuff to follow fellow comics. And if I'm following someone, I want them to have an actual talent. Do you know what I mean? Noticing eggs in the supermarket is not a fucking talent. You mentioned Ali Woods and all that. Like people like this who actually create things that are like creative people. I try and follow them. So that does my nuts in. And the other one, or my nut in? It does my nuts in as well.
Sure, yeah.
It does them in as well. The other one I hate as well is the dog training people on Instagram.
Oh,
These people be like, you shouldn't acknowledge your dog when you come in. Because
that's like the most joyful bit.
That's the whole reason I got him. He goes ape shit when I come in.
And then just ignore him for the first. What?
This is what they'll say. They'll be like, "Oh, you've got to ignore him. Wait for the dog to calm down, and then just quietly." And you're like, "Fuck off!" Like I want him to go absolutely ape shit when I come in the door. That's why I got him.
Bit because it's like what I love about dogs. It's like every time they see you, it's like the first time they've seen you. Like,
I know.
Oh my god, you came back! Yes!
I know. That's the joy. And then, like, there was one, I seen one the other day. It was like, you shouldn't throw a ball for your dog. And I'm like, oh, these people.
Just get a cat.
Those are definite joy killers. Those are like.
How do you feel about the Italian husbands, the English, like.
Well,
they boil your piss as much as me?
Well, what was funny was, remember when TikTok was going to get cancelled in the US or whatever, and then everybody did these videos about like, if TikTok's going, here's like, well, just admit stuff, and all these influencers came out and was like, oh, actually, we've faked a lot of our videos, and then it got reinstated 8 hours later, and they had to come back and be like, we're just joking, and like, it was so funny.
But it's when you build a following on, you're not actually doing anything.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Your following is built on marrying an English guy. Or you move to London and you notice that things are different in the supermarket.
Yeah.
And then you suddenly realise, they must realise, like, I've got to constantly pump out content.
And it's just the same thing,
it's
but
the same thing.
recycled. Like, you watch one of the videos and you're like, that was fine. But I'm like, who's watching 20 of these?
But also, see if I'm moving to another country, like if I'm taking my life and moving it halfway across the world, and I go into the supermarket and it's exactly the same as the supermarket I grew up with, I'd be raging.
I know.
Like, that's not shocking.
Exactly.
They've got different food here. Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I could have just stayed in the house. I could have just stayed with mum and dad's. I didn't need to actually move.
Yeah.
I mean, it drives me up. There's so many things about social media that I hate, but yet I still am like,
I know. But that's like what I came back to at the start of the podcast, where I said, like, I think joy comes from putting work into something and get a reward. And I mentioned before, like that, what we're talking about is gratification. Nobody's ever going to come in this sofa and be like, the thing that gives me joy is sitting on my phone and watching reels for an hour and a half. Yeah. But we all do it, don't we? Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Because it's that low dopamine, constant
hit. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like the difference between like gratification and actual genuine joyfulness,
100%.
It's the misery people embrace.
Embrace the sadness and the graft.
This is why they come on holiday to Scotland. I mean, what are they thinking?
Yeah.
I mean,
so Daniel, if I see you starting to do these "my girlfriend lives in Sweden" videos, if I see you going to a Swedish supermarket,
unfriend me.
I do like the woman. Is it Swedish? There's a woman who does. She does her. I think it might be Swedish. She does her mother-in-law. Or maybe it's German. It's her pretending to be her German mother-in-law and doing all the things that her German mother-in-law does. That one is quite funny.
It's a little bit different though, because there's some talent involved in that. There's some acting. There's recognising
writing a wee sketch, not just like, oh my god, bangers and mash.
Oh my god, like y'all, they have this thing called diluting juice, like.
I didn't realise though that diluting juice wasn't a thing. Like I didn't realise that was not
the name.
But even like
squash in England.
But like even in like Europe, I didn't realise till I had a kid, because obviously when I'm going on my holidays, I wasn't getting diluting
You're
juice.
not worried about diluting juice.
They've got tequila in every country I've been to, right? So it wasn't until I had a kid that, and you're going to a restaurant or whatever, and you're like, oh, just some diluting juice. And they're looking at you as if you're absolutely mad, because diluting juice is no thing in other countries.
Yeah.
That does blow my mind.
Yeah, of course.
We are raised on diluting juice everywhere.
Aye, everybody's
That's the universal
juice.
experience
That's
as
what
well.
You get.
Yeah.
And
From
then
the Highlands to the borders.
oh God,
Right
bless
over,
you.
Glasgow.
even in Glasgow, we'll
Diluting
drink diluting juice.
That's going into my fringe show.
Green or blue?
The thing that thing that unites us is diluting juice.
Yeah.
So yeah, that boils my piss, girls.
Is it anything that has been annoying you of late? Anything? Any joy killers on Hannah's roster?
Well, really, I was just I'm having pipe issues. My sink's all flooded at the moment, so yeah, that came out weird.
Pipe issues.
Plumbing issues.
That's worse. That's worse. It's like you're pissing yourself. You have an issue with your pipe. Your pipe needing laid.
No. My pipes,
You don't need diluting
my
juice,
pipes
you need
getting
cranberry
laid.
juice. That's what you need.
I just having issues with that's really what's been annoying me. It's really not really that funny. It's just really that's been pissing me off this week, having to deal with all that.
Deal with backed
home
up
stuff.
pipes.
Yeah,
That's tenement living for you, though.
that's the thing.
It's
That's
the
what happens
old
when you
pipes.
live in a joyful.
They don't even have old pipes in a lot of other countries. That's the Scottish history.
There you go. I'm going to make a video of it. Oh my God, look at these old pipes, guys. And it's going to get 100,000 views.
But then you're going to have to keep going back to the
And then I'm
pipes.
going to be known
This
as
is
the pipe
thing.
girl. It's not what you want.
No.
Yeah, that's going to be the death of you. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
That's how they started. They started talking about. I don't think they seen themselves talking about pipes forever, but now they fucking have to.
Because you're locked
That's
in.
honestly, it's.
Yeah. What about you?
What's been annoying me? I mean, you know me. Everything. Everything in life annoys me to a greater or lesser degree, but I think that's just the perimenopause talking, to be honest. What's been killing my joints? You know, I had one because I thought, I'll go chat about that today, and now I've completely forgotten what it was. But there is just know that there is something.
Well,
It's maybe memory. It's maybe forgetting things. I am having issues with like. I don't know if it's because seriously don't know if it is a perimenopausal thing, if it is because I'm so busy at the moment, or if it is just an age thing, like if it's something like that. But I've literally keep forgetting words.
oh.
Just like and we were having I was having a conversation with another person of a similar age to me, and the conversation to anybody outside of it must have made no sense. I was like, you know him? And they're like, him that's married to her. And I'm like, exactly. And they've got that, the thing that they both got, and that's my life at the moment.
But it's great
just,
we can have those conversations and people get that. You're like, the thing, you know what I'm talking about.
And she was married to him that was,
It was
that guy.
bit that remember Gus Limburn used to have that brilliant bit. Exact same what you're saying, but with swears.
Oh yeah, fucking dog and duck.
I loved that bit from Gus. That was such a good bit he used to do.
Cool. Right, I've got one
Yes.
last wee bit to do. So this is
I'm excited for this.
I know you know what it is actually. There's new
Oh, you've
picture.
got a new
wow.
picture. You look very newsreadery
I know.
in that
I
one.
found this one. I've got a blazer on. She looks very professional.
She does.
So I bring in a little story that I've seen each week. Now this one won't immediately seem like it's a joyful story, but actually
Okay.
it's all right. So. Did anyone see the plane crash?
I
There was
did.
a plane crash in Toronto where this plane came, flipped on the runway, but everybody survived.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
70
I
odd
thought.
people, they were hanging upside down.
They came in, the landing came in too hot, too hard, and clipped the wing, flipped over, went along the runway, but they managed to get everybody out. There's
That was
videos of
amazing.
everyone climbing out upside down.
See, when I have pilots on my tour, I always ask them the question, right? You're like, listen, you know everyone's going to survive. You know everyone's going to be fine. Like, is there a little part of you that just wants to have a go at sullying it? Do you know what I mean? Like if you knew everyone was going to be fine, like, did you look at that? I kind of want to have a go at like landing it in the Hudson River.
Yep.
Because I feel like if I was a pilot, when I seen that, I'd be like, I quite fancy trying to do that.
And what did they say?
Most of them say no.
Yeah, that would be a bad day at work. Like,
But you
we've
don't
all
think-
had bad days at work,
But if you were a pilot,
Yeah.
everyone's going to be safe and you know it's going to be fine. You'd want to have a wee go. Like, I'm bored of landing on the runway. I might have a wee go.
I think you're just trying to, you know how you said you had a boring life? I think you've just like,
Maybe this is it.
you've taken it too far there. That's like, that would be the equivalent
gone
of you going, do you know what I would really like? To really have a bad gig. Just to see
Yeah.
if I could
I
survive
suppose
it.
it is, yeah. I suppose it is. But that's something I've definitely experienced plenty of times. I've sullied it many times in that respect.
So yeah, I just thought that was a interesting story about so anyone that's a nervous flyer, look, you can survive that.
Yeah,
I don't think this is a good one for the nervous flyers.
Well, I am not a good flyer. I don't
sorry, Jane.
That's okay. I've never been a particularly good flyer. It always kind of scares me a bit, and I watch a lot of those air crash.
Well, that's not going to help,
shows.
is it?
No, but it does a little. But what I don't understand is why don't they just make the entire plane out the black box? You know how the black box can survive everything? How can they not just make the entire plane out the black box? Is that not the most reasonable thing to do? Just make the entire plane the black box. Anyway, I've often thought that, but because I've watched all these things and I've read up on it and things, and I was in a plane crash. Well, it wasn't so much a crash. I was in an emergency landing.
Oh wow!
So I was going to. This was years and years ago. I was in my late teens, and I was supposed to be going to Lanzarote with my then boyfriend, Fuerteventura actually. Not that fucking matters, but this is where my husband goes. Move it on.
Get to the plane crash.
So we're supposed to be going to Fuerteventura, and the plane takes off, and I was already a very nervous flyer, and I looked and I could see smoke coming out. We'd literally just taken off, and I could see smoke coming out of the wing, and I was like, huh. And you know when you just go, this is just because I'm a nervous flyer, I'm just going to talk myself down. And then there was flames coming out the wing.
Oh my God.
And I was like, and the only thing that kept me is my boyfriend was a few seats in front of me. We weren't sat together, but there was a little kid next to me on the aisle, and I was like, well, you can't freak out because there's a little kid. So I just I pressed the buzzer, and of course it's taken off. So the air hostesses are sitting down, and they're just so they're not answering it. So I just kept pressing it, and eventually a woman came up, and she was like, is there a medical emergency? And I was like, is that normal? She looked out and her face was like, no. So you're the one that told them?
You're the one that,
yeah. And she went run down. I'm sure somebody in the cockpit must have also known that this was going on, but obviously they did. The air hostesses didn't. She went and she hit a button. Anyway, the plane then just diverted and had to do an emergency landing back in Glasgow Airport. And as we're coming into the airport, by this point the wing is fully alight, the wing is fully on fire. God. And we're coming into land, and people are freaking out. Okay. And weirdly, I was quite calm because I was just a bit there's an inevitability. It's I think you won't, neither of you will be able to reverse it. But see, when you're pregnant, I think there's a lot of people get really freaked out about the actual birth bit, but it's inevitable, right? So I didn't get freaked. So I was just well, it's happening. Yeah. There's no other way that other than this is happening. So we're coming down, and all these fire trucks are coming up to meet us. Wow. And the worst bit of the entire thing was that we had to sit in the plane for 2 hours because they doused it down in all the big white foamy fluffy stuff. But then they didn't want to open anything in case it did a spark, sparked in, because obviously the entire plane was covered in fuel because it was all pissing out. Wow. That's what was causing. We had to sit there, and the smell of the fuel was horrendous. But the next day I got back on a plane. It was.
That's wild.
So yeah,
because I was also in an emergency landing situation. When I was 18, we all went to Malia, and there were 6 of us. We all got very drunk before we got in the plane, and we were over Germany, and the air hostesses run up and down the plane, and they're like, we're going to have to do an emergency landing because I think one or both of our engines went out or caught on fire, and we had to land in Frankfurt. Wow. And they had but there wasn't fire or anything, but they had all the fire trucks and stuff, but we were all just wasted at the back of the plane, wait, what's happening, Germany? Here we go. Just being the biggest pricks. And then we had to spend...
Dying with a Hindu is the worst.
Everybody was I can't believe I'm going to die, and these bitches are behind me being are you still serving drinks? So we had to stay in Frankfurt for 24 hours, and they were like, listen, it's been a very traumatic event, we can fly you back to the UK. And we're like, nah, fuck it, we're going to Malia. So we went.
Another truly Scottish response to anything. No, what? Is there still drink?
Yeah,
By the way,
we're still going to Malia.
I'm so glad that you two have told me these stories after my holiday to Mexico. After I had to do a 7-hour flight to New York, and then another 6 hours to Mexico City.
I'm flying next week, so this is probably not. But
there's loads of things do you know that a plane has never crashed because of turbulence?
Oh, really? Yeah, that makes sense.
turbulence doesn't
Yeah.
make planes crash.
Yeah.
It's never
It's normally the
happened.
landing or the takeoff, isn't it?
Yeah,
Is
that's the two bits that you need to
Where
be.
are you going next week?
New York.
Oh, brilliant.
Yay.
Awesome.
New
Yeah, I can't
York.
wait.
People who say they don't like New York are just lying.
Yeah, exactly.
They're,
I
they're
love
doing
New
it for
York.
effect, aren't they?
Yeah.
I love
It's
New York. I
brilliant.
can't go to America for the next 4 years though. I'm not going.
Well, yeah.
You're not getting an Esther.
She's bored.
No, I just like
the big
the
cheesy Watson.
big
that's in
cheesy
office.
Watts while he's still there. I'm not.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
Oh,
that
I
was
see what you're saying.
can't do it. Can't do
Yeah.
it.
I met this brilliant woman in Mexico. She was like on our tour. She was like this older Irish lady. She was amazing. She'd like met Mother Teresa and everything. Like she was honestly, she was incredible. She worked with like this charity, like kind of like helping in all these different countries. And I said to her that we were flying New York and then New York to Mexico City. And then this wee like 75-year-old woman, wherever she was, right? She was like, "Oh no, I'm not allowed into the US." She got denied an ESTA. This wee like 70-year-old woman from Dublin, because in your ESTA says, "What countries have you visited?" And she's like, "Sudan, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, like all this sort of stuff." Oh,
She gives a peace envoy.
she was
Do you know what I
brilliant.
mean?
And she was and her husband was another brilliant guy. He was like a radiation expert, and he had basically gone to Africa to
I think
help
you met
people.
spies, Daniel.
Yeah.
They were amazing, honestly, and the people on our tour were fantastic. And he basically went to like African hospitals to help radiation protection for the doctors and stuff like
Wow.
that. There was an amazing couple. There was like another couple on the tour. Like one guy was like a clarinet player for like the London Symphony Orchestra.
Wow.
He had met Pavarotti. Said he was a prick. Which I wasn't surprised by. I was like,
A big prick.
yeah. It's not a surprise that Pavarotti was a prick, is it? Like I kind of expect.
Probably.
Aye.
I think
Yeah.
if he wasn't a prick, I'd be more disappointed.
Exactly, aye.
Like,
Yeah.
I think
If
that
she had
it's-
said Mother Teresa was a prick, I'd be like, well, that's a different story.
well,
You know what I
apparently
mean?
she was.
Well, yeah. 'Cause
Was she really?
Notoriously a bit of a
She's
prick.
just let people die because God will save you, and you should not give them medicine and stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, fuck Mother
Sorry.
Teresa. Should we
What
end
a
on
way
that?
to close the pod.
I know, we actually
What a
do need
way
to wrap
close
up.
the
So
pod.
just before we finish, Daniel can tell people where they can find you, what you're up to.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I do a comedy walking tour of Edinburgh. I do a comedy whiskey tasting as well. It's all at Montebank, Scotland. If you Google me, you'll find me.
On the side of a
number one in
porridge.
Edinburgh and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I'm at the Glasgow Comedy Festival as well. And I've got a podcast. It's the Montebank History of Scotland podcast. I've not actually done an episode in like 3 years. 3.5 years actually, because when I started my master's degree, because my podcast was doing quite good. It was like Scottish, like kind of Scottish history with jobby jokes, basically, you know. And I started the master's degree, and then I was like, "Oh, this will be great. I'll do the master's degree, and the episodes will just write themselves." Yeah, master's degrees don't really work that way.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So basically, I get quite a lot of people asking me about the podcast. And so I've finally started writing episodes again.
Right.
So I've got a few in the chamber. So hopefully I'll be releasing those new podcast episodes in the next couple of months.
Good. Well,
But yeah, it's all at Montebank, Scotland.
Yeah.
and thank you so much for having me on. I really
Ah,
enjoyed it.
thanks for coming.
Yeah, my
before
pleasure.
we go, we'll quickly plug the major. Also doing Glasgow comedy shows. Mine is called Me. It is on the 15th of March at 7:10.
Well done in knowing the
Bandwagon.
dates.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have the last few times I've plugged it, I have not said the date. So this
Okay,
time I was like,
right,
I need
okay.
to say the date
So
and
you're
the
like
time.
me then, right.
7:10, yeah, 15th of March. And then Jay, where are you at?
I am on the 22nd of March at the Stand Comedy Club. I think it's at 8 o'clock. It's in the evening on the 22nd. It's a Saturday. The show's called Oofed. And if you want tickets, hurry up because there's not that many left, I don't think.
Still
that's
money
quite-
available for me.
Quite good.
Please come along.
Yeah, and please leave a little 5-star review. No a 1 star, just 5
No.
stars. Just a 5-star.
Round all the way up.
Or not 4.5 either.
No, 4.5. I don't think
Yeah.
they allow. I don't think they
No.
allow halves on Spotify
nor
and
should they.
Apple. Nor should
Good on
they.
Spotify.
Exactly.
Absolutely, they're leading with their chest.
But
but thank you so much,
Daniel, thank you so much
My
for
pleasure,
coming
girls.
on.
My pleasure. My absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.